Okay guys, welcome back to another video on my channel today. We're going to be looking at the Porsche Cayman GT4 Clubsport, which we did a video from an online race the other day where we made a mistake at the start and we did a comeback race and we were a bit behind on the lap times, obviously due to the damage, and I just wanted to show you with a setup what the car will actually do. So for this video I've took the last 3 laps from an online race that we did to show you how the setup works in an online race. Again, rather than just doing a hot lap, we're taking it to using from an online race so you guys can actually see how it handles. The lap that we were on now, we had actually been held up by a back marker and he wouldn't let us pass, so I had to start the video. I did want to do 4 laps, but we had to start on 3 because it was just a bit laughable what he was doing. But anyway, so to show you how consistent it is, we've got these 3 laps now where you'll see our current fastest lap of the race. I think there's a 1 minute 39.1, so you can see straight away that it's got pace. And the last 3 laps, just to show you the consistency carried on, I think every lap was pretty much the same bar the one where we got held up. You can see we're trying to just keep the braking nice and smooth. One point with this car, you really do need to just be careful on like how early you brake. Get on the brakes, although you don't need to brake as early as the GT3 because you're not carrying as much speed. You still just need to be cautious on the brakes and just be cautious on the accelerator with this car, because as you can see there, the tyre temperatures, we're on lap what lap is it, lap 6, and we're still running quite cold tyre temperatures. We've actually, as you'll see in the setup, we've got our tyre pressures as low as they can go. This is to give us as much heat and generate as much heat in the tyres as we can. This is one thing about this, is obviously the tyres, you cannot run the soft or mediums. It's just a hard variant with this car. With it being a cup car, setup options are quite restricted in terms of what you can do. It's a bit like the Porsche GT3 Cup car, which people will see when we get that in the on the consoles. When you get the DLC free, you can't change as many things, although you can change more than this car. It's not as free to choice as a lot of other GT3 cars, and that's why it'll be in a separate class, because you can't put soft tyres or medium tyres on that version of the GT3 car. But like I say, another thing with this track as well, when you're online, so far I've only come across 2 variations of the weather, either this cloudy or the sunny version, and even the sunny version, you're not going to, it just doesn't build any temperatures up in the tyres, so make sure you run them all the way down on the lowest tyre pressures. That's what I've done to this setup, as we'll get to it in a minute. So we're now on the lap. I think this lap was actually our fastest lap of the race. I think it could have been faster. I think the last lap should have been the fastest lap, but we made a little error on the, it might have been the last sector. We'll have a little look in a minute. But the very big key to the laps I found on is turn 1 and turn 2 is getting the traction down as soon as you can. Turn 1 is just getting on that power that little bit early to gather your speed down that straight. You can gain about 2-3 tenths if you get it perfect. And coming out of turn 2, you've got to kind of get a pendulum effect going when you swing the car in and getting on the power as early as you can, and it really does, it pushes you out that corner so much you gain a good 2 tenths. That's, if you get them corners right, I always find your lap's going to be a good lap, because these corners are pretty, although you can gain some time on this corner, it's one of these corners where if you gain time on the entry, you sometimes lose time on the exit. So if you take a wide line in onto that corner on the first part of it, you end up coming out faster. It just seems to counteract each other which way you take the corner. Obviously you can take it better, but there is 2 different ways of taking that corner. It's quite good for actually getting an overtaking move done, because if someone slower than you is in front and they're holding you up, sometimes like to take a wide line through that corner and then just get on the exit faster, like I tried to do on the video. If you would have seen on the video I did when I had damage, our car just didn't have the speed though to make it work. But if we would have been running in, say for example in this race where we didn't have damage and our car was running at maximum, we had everything working fine, we would have probably been able to do that comfortably. As you would have seen, we nearly did it with just a damaged car. So with the car running perfect aerodynamics, we would have been able to pull that off pretty easy, I think. That's one thing I like to try and do, is experiment with lines for in case I need to in case you get in a situation where you've got to pull some overtakes off. But you can see this race we were clearly in the lead. I think we were, I don't know if it was like 30 seconds ahead of anyone else behind us. There was no one really competing with us in this race, and it was just a good race to build some consistency up and test the setup out, see how consistent it was. Like the GT3 cars, you do need to be cautious on that corner we've just gone past there. He's getting on the power, you're still in second gear, and at that point of the lap you'll notice that the tyres are still quite cold, because you've had the start straight and then the long back straight, and then you've had a little corner to build the temperatures up to turn 2, but it hasn't got high speed, so it doesn't really gain much temperatures in your tyres. So you will be running quite cold tyre temperatures. I do like to keep the tyre temperature gauge on all the time, because if you get to a traction zone and you notice them tyres are blue, just be a little bit cautious. That's one thing I always try and do, is keep an eye on them tyre temperatures, because if you're coming out of like turn 2 and your tyres are not really up to temperature, just be a little bit more cautious than you would say at the end of the lap there, where they're all green now, and you can really attack the acceleration zone. So we got over the line there, 138 point. I think that was a 139.1 or 0 that lap, but the lap before was a 38.9, I think it was. So I think our potential with this setup is a 38.4, 38.5 if you get it reasonably perfect the lap. You can see the setup. What we've done is we've lowered the temperature, the tyre pressures down to as minimum as they'll go. We raised the rear tow bar up very high to give us more heat in the tyres and more stability. Obviously raising that is going to build temperatures up, that's one thing we tried to do. But we had to lower the front toe just to give us a bit better turning. We lowered the suspension down as well, so we could run the car very low. I found that the curbs, although they do affect the car, they're not as much as some of the other cars, so you could run the suspension fairly low. Again, one thing to remember with this car is a lot of the setups give weird readings when you're putting in the setup values. The bars don't match where they should be, etc. So just make sure you take down the values and concentrate on the values. Don't look at the bars too much with this setup, as it can give you a false setup basically. It's a bug that I hope they improve or fix for future updates or something, because it seems to be very common with the Porsche cars and a few other cars. Anyway guys, I'll leave you a hot lap from a replay camera. It's not a lap from the race, obviously, because we can't save replays from online races, which is another thing I hope comes in the future, but this is just from a hot lap, so you can have a little listen to the engine and the sound this car makes. It's another good sounding car. Hope you enjoyed the video, and make sure you subscribe for more future videos, and I'll be back very soon. Thanks again for watching.